All right, yesterday, leaders of the world's wealthiest large democracies descended in Italy for the annual G7 summit with its focus on economic issues and international policies. But even as war rages in Europe and in the Middle East, and China continues to make inroads throughout the global South, the Biden administration has focused this summit on literally a behind the scenes battle to promote its commitment to abortion. This pattern has been evident ever since President Biden took office in 2021, with the Biden administration pushing its abortion policies on other countries at every opportunity. Well, the question is, what damaging real world consequences does all of this have on our allies and our adversaries? Well, joining me now in studio to discuss this is Dr. Chris Gacek, Senior Fellow for Regulatory Affairs at the Family Research Council. Dr. Gacek, always good to see you, my friend.
It's good to see you too, Jody.
Watch. All right. So, look, here we go. We have war in Israel. We have Ukraine. We got China. We have global inflation. We have a host of problems. And according to reports, world leaders are negotiating on a statement on abortion that the Biden administration wanted, going until 2 a.m., by the way. How does any of this make sense?
Well, you know something that's really interesting? Normal human beings don't go and look at G7 communiques. I think that's a fair statement, right? And
I would agree with you.
They're 60 pages long. I mean, I know this because I actually went and found one and and downloaded it so that I could search through it. And what's interesting about this, it seems to me, is that what happened here that caused the fight wasn't so much that there was a big change from year to year. There was a comprehensive statement about sexuality and rights and these kinds of issues in the G7 meeting that happened in Japan a year ago. What happened here, though, was that Italy has a new prime minister, Giorgia Meloni, and she fought to keep the really bad language, including the word abortion, out of this text, right? So Macron and all of these guys, the French leader, apparently they got into this huge kind of tussle that lasted until 2 in the morning. But in the end, the United States accepted this, this kind of verbiage and referenced this 2023 document that had the term comprehensive sexual health and rights or something like that. But the term is comprehensive and sexual. And what's interesting here is that the scope of the international bureaucracy behind these organizations. Kind of reminds me when Travis Weber was talking about Geneva, and he went there and a couple weeks ago, and you had all these, these huge bureaucracies, and they have these sort of they're on autopilot. They're kind of writing about these big concepts of comprehensive sexuality, universal health care, centralization of power in areas that we would object to. So I think the Biden administration were probably furious because, remember, so one of the big themes of the administration is, that the Dobbs decision is horrible, and that therefore they're fighting and they're going to make this case that they're on the side of women and abortion rights. So in a way, it was almost embarrassing that they weren't able to sort of pull off having abortion in there. So it's hard to know the exact dynamic of it because all of the language that is, they say that they got what they wanted. But there was a big fight, and they were fighting apparently until 2 in the morning. And there are more important things to be doing, right?
Certainly is. Well, as some are saying, and I don't want to belabor this, but there's a lot of people out there saying that for the administration to be fighting for abortion at the G7 summit, which is about a whole lot of other more important things or other issues that they're facing in the world, that it's really about his election strategy more than it is international diplomacy. Is that a fair assessment?
I think there are two things going on. One is the sort of the baseline ideology of the United States government and all of the bureaucracies, but of all these other governments too, except for apparently one leader, and that's the Italian leader. So it shows you how bad the situation is in terms of these value issues that we care about across the globe, so that you get these 60-page documents coming out of these things, and they represent sort of a consensus of what these people are about. And going back to Travis, you know, it was it's sort of the blob, the UN speak social development goals, but at the same time, they're trying to get, you know, Biden administration, they're trying to use all this this radical agenda as a way to, you know, say, hey, this is the one thing we're doing right. We're getting abortion right in the international context, and we're promoting it to our base. I think that's correct.
Yeah, and obviously they're not getting it right, but they are apparently appealing to their base.
Right.
So here we are at an international summit. So many issues facing the entire world, war after war after war, and the Biden administration seemingly taking its eyes off the ball to focus on abortion. How does this hinder other American diplomatic efforts?
Well, I mean, anytime you don't look at the things that you're supposed to be looking at, you're going to have, you know, you're not spending your time on important issues. One of the things I have to say, though, is these guys are so bad on everything that it's almost like you wonder, what could they look at that they wouldn't mess up? I mean, I hate to be, you know, that critical, but they're terrible on Gaza and sort of in Israel. Their economic policies are a disaster internationally. The dollar is crashing. So, you know, at least one of the things that they could be doing is trying to, you know, alleviate problems related to, you know, the proliferation of weapons and these sorts of things in the Middle East. But they're all about promoting Iran and making Iran a regional hegemon, or, you know, the leader in the area, to such an extent that Israel's security is threatened and Saudi Arabia is pulling away from us in terms of supporting the dollar. This administration is so terrible, you kind of don't know what they could focus on that wouldn't be disastrous.
Yeah, and it just, sorry, our time's out, but it just seems like they are either unable to prioritize that which is really important globally, or this is the only thing that to them is important. Thank you, Dr. Chris Gacek. Always great to see you. Happy Father's Day weekend to you.